Hi folks, Gordon Allan, Director of Admissions at St. George's School, and welcome to another one of our Coffee with the Admissions Department videos. Today's YouTube is going to address some of the more frequently asked questions that we get on our chat line, which is on our website. And Miss Emily Moir has amassed 10 of those questions for us today, so this particular YouTube will be a little bit longer than usual. So Emily, fire away. What are some of the questions that we got recently?
So one of the most common questions I get on our chat line is, how many reference letters do I need to submit as part of my application?
Right. So we actually only ask for 2 reference letters. One is an academic reference letter from somebody who teaches your son, and one is a co-curricular reference letter. So if your son has a soccer coach or a music teacher or somebody who works with him outside of school. And those reference letters are downloadable from our website. Now, parents do choose to get reference letters from friends. They search out people connected to the community sometimes. Some people know people who are board members at the school. While you're free to submit up to 2 more reference letters, the admissions committee will not look that closely at those letters, because really it does get back to the boy, and it's more important that we see if the boy is ready as opposed to who it is that he knows in the community.
Great. So our second question is, do you have a sibling or maybe an alumni policy here at the school?
So again, using the theme that I mentioned before, that it is about the boy, all things being considered equal. So if we have 2 candidates who really are both ready to come to St. George's School, and one is the brother of a sibling, or one is the brother of an alumni, then yes, that individual would be given some preference. But they're not automatically given preference. If a sibling or an alum is not ready, then we will say to that family that the child needs to wait a little bit longer. So again, it's getting back to one boy at a time, looking at that individual and making sure the fit is right.
So a lot of families ask me how they can show appreciation to the school, whether through a donation or through a gift. What is our policy on that?
A very good question. So during the interview process, you're more than welcome to talk about how you would volunteer at the school, how you would support the school once your child has been admitted. But that is not part of the admission process. It's not factored into the decisions we make. Likewise, for obvious reasons, we cannot accept gifts of any kind during the admission process, and so we do ask that you don't put us in an awkward position, even something like a coffee. We just can't do it, just to make sure that the process is objective as possible.
How about getting my son ready for the school? Do I need to put all his achievements in a binder or poster board? What do you recommend?
Please, no. We have a number of families who every year put together this large portfolio of their child's artwork and their written work, and you know what, that's fine to bring to the interview to show us, but we just don't have the storage space for it, and so we really discourage families from packaging their admission process. So what we encourage is that as much as possible, both to save the environment and also it makes our life a little bit easier, send as much as you can digitally. You can scan images, you can scan documents, or if you need to send hard copies, drop them off, but please don't put them into binders.
And for our 5th question, do we have an ESL program, or do you accept ESL students?
So we are a fairly academically challenged school. Students are operating at least a year in advance in many subjects, sometimes more. Even up to grade 7, students are reading Shakespeare, they're reading novels. So we're not really in a position to accept ESL students. Now, students who are coming from other countries who have some language challenges, we can give language support, but we do expect that you can at the very least write an essay, that you can respond to some literary questions, and that you have a fairly good base in English. So each child will be assessed separately, but if you're a beginner ESL student, then this is probably not the school for you.
Another question that I received was that when we come for our family interview, can I bring someone to translate for me?
Yeah, good question. We actually have a number of people in the admissions department who speak a variety of languages. So, for example, We have Chinese-speaking people, Mandarin-speaking and Cantonese-speaking. We have Spanish-speaking people. We have Portuguese-speaking people, German, and we have a Russian-speaking person. So if you let us know ahead of time that you need some language support, we can arrange that during the interview. But as much as possible, we want the interview to be private. We want it to be based with the family only, and so we would prefer that you don't bring somebody else.
Great. What if I don't live maybe in the lower mainland and I want to be interviewed perhaps where I live? Is that possible?
Absolutely. So depending on where you live, the admissions department does travel the world because we do have obviously students from over 20 different countries worldwide. And so we do arrange to interview students in many countries around the world. So check in to see where we're going, and if you would like us to interview you in your country, we can certainly set that up. If you live in a country where we're not visiting, then we can arrange for a Skype interview, and that's very easy to do. All you really need to do is to have a computer that has a camera on it, and then we can have a chat and have the interview that way.
And you know, I think one important thing to point out is the primary process. So if you're applying for grades 1 to 5, you do have to come to campus. We do
Absolutely.
require that. What about this question? My child has a disability. Can the school still accept him?
Right. So there are students at our school who are receiving resource help because they may have some sort of learning disability. And but those students were admitted because they were still competitive at the application process. So what's first and foremost important is that your child does get accepted to the school on his own merit, independent of that disability. If in order for that child to be successful at the school, he will need support, then we can assess that. We have a resource department that can look at that child's needs and hopefully make it work. But if the child cannot be admitted to the school because of the disability, again, we are a competitive school. We have a number of people applying. The child does have to compete with all those other students who are competing each year.
So speaking of competing, I heard a rumor that it was easier to get into the school as a boarder. Is that true?
No. In fact, in recent years, it's become that much more difficult to come in as a boarding student. The same standards and expectations are in place for students, whether they're boarding students or day students. The only difference being that we will have students obviously coming in who may require a little bit more language needs, and we'll tap into our language resource department. But other than that, most of the students in our boarding house are above average, exceptional students. They're some of the leading students in terms of getting into the best universities during graduation period. So yeah, that is a rumor, but it's not true.
And if I'm a day student living here in Vancouver, I can't transition to boarding, can I?
Well, it really depends on why you want to go to boarding. What we aren't is a hotel, and so we don't want students, coming into the school and being in the boarding house during the week and then going home in the weekends, or coming into the boarding house occasionally during the week and sometimes going home. So when we meet with students who are interested in boarding, it's because they want to be part of the boarding life at the school. They want to commit to 7 days of boarding, and we want that assurance if you are going to come into boarding. So it's not a black and white answer. We really want to make sure that you want boarding for the right reason.
I really want to make sure that my son understands what's happening at St. George's School. Can he come and spend a day with you guys?
Sure. So if it's really important to you that your son experiences a day at St. George's School, and of course we can't do it for everybody who applies, but sometimes families feel that their son doesn't quite have a handle on what the independent school system is all about, and they could really benefit from spending a morning or spending a day at the school, we can certainly set that up with some advance warning. The other thing is, if you are applying as a boarding student, we actually encourage you to come and spend a night at the school, and we can certainly facilitate that. So again, if you let us know that that's something you'd like to do, we do it every year, and we're happy to accommodate you.
And Mr. Allan, that's probably only appropriate for grade 6 and up.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's all for today. Those are my big 10 questions that came in.
Good questions. So this particular YouTube is the first of this sort of collection of FAQs. As the year unfolds, if we end up amassing a whole lot of new questions, we'll have a part 2 to this. But until next time, thank you for joining us. Do check out our other YouTube videos. And as always, we've got information on the website at www.stgeorges.bc.ca. Cheers until next
Cheers.
time.